The night that was supposed to mean nothing. The night that changed everything began with disrespect disguised as familiarity. Ava Moreno had learned to recognize it early in life. The way people smiled too politely, spoke too casually, and assumed too much when they thought they already knew her place. To most people, she wasn't Ava Moreno, strategic consultant, Stanford graduate, or the woman who quietly rebuilt 3 failing companies before turning 30. She was just Ethan Moreno's little sister. Sweet, sheltered, emotional. Someone who'd never had to fight for anything. And standing at the center of that assumption for nearly a decade was her brother's best friend, Lucas Carter. He never insulted her directly. That would have been easier. Instead, he dismissed her opinions with amused silence, teased her with comments that sounded harmless to everyone else, and spoke to her like she was always one step behind the real conversation. In rooms full of powerful men, he never asked for her thoughts. At family gatherings, he joked about protecting her from the real world. Lucas was respected everywhere he went. Self-made billionaire. Hotel magnate. The man who turned rundown properties into luxury empires. Ethan trusted him with his life. Ava trusted him with nothing. So when the neon lights of Las Vegas spilled across the windshield of the limo, Ava told herself this trip was about freedom, not him. Vegas pulsed with permission. The strip glowed like a promise no one expected you to keep. Music thumped through the pavement, laughter spilled from open doors, and the air itself felt reckless. Ava stepped out of the car in a black silk dress that hugged confidence, not desperation. It wasn't chosen to impress anyone. It was chosen to remind herself that she didn't need approval to exist fully. "Birthday girl," her friend Talia shouted, wrapping her in a hug. "Tonight we make terrible decisions." Ava laughed. "Only the kind that don't follow me home." The universe apparently loved irony. She saw him near the casino bar, tall, relaxed, devastatingly composed. Lucas Carter in a charcoal suit with his sleeves rolled just enough to show strength that wasn't decorative. He looked exactly like he always did. Untouchable. Controlled. Watching the room like he owned it. Their eyes met. For one suspended second, the noise faded. Of course he'd be here. Vegas loved cruel timing. "Ava," Lucas said, approaching with that familiar half-smile that always felt like a challenge. "Didn't think your brother let you out unsupervised." She lifted her chin. "Didn't think you remembered how to enjoy life outside boardrooms and acquisitions." Something flickered in his eyes, surprise, maybe even admiration, but it vanished too quickly to trust. "You look different," he said slowly. She smiled, sharp and deliberate. That's what happens when people stop underestimating themselves. The tension between them wasn't new. It had been building for years. Unspoken glances, accidental touches, arguments that felt like foreplay masked as irritation. Everyone thought they disliked each other. The truth was more dangerous. Hours passed too easily. Music grew louder. Glasses emptied faster. Ava lost track of how close Lucas stood, how easily conversation flowed when they stopped pretending, how natural it felt to laugh with him instead of defending herself. To bad decisions, someone toasted. To Vegas, another voice added. Lucas leaned close, his voice low near her ear. To things we'll pretend never happened. Her heart stumbled. Scared? He smiled slowly. Always. Someone joked about wedding chapels. Someone dared them. Pride, sweet, reckless pride, did the rest. The chapel was ridiculous. Neon hearts blinked on the walls. Pink lights glowed too bright. An Elvis impersonator waited with bored patience as laughter echoed around them. "This is insane," Ava whispered, fake bouquet trembling slightly in her hands. Lucas's fingers laced through hers, grounding. Still time to walk away. She looked at him, not the mogul, not her brother's shadow, but the man who had challenged her every time the world treated her like decoration. "Why should I?" she asked. The vows blurred. The ring was cheap metal. The kiss was not fake. It tasted like rebellion, tequila, and 8 years of tension finally snapping. "Ladies and gentlemen," Elvis announced, clapping once. "I present to you Mr. and Mrs. Carter." Applause erupted. The next morning arrived without mercy. Ava woke up in a luxury suite she didn't recognize. Sunlight stabbed through sheer curtains. Her head throbbed. Her hand felt heavy. A ring glinted on her finger. Her phone exploded with notifications. Beside her, a man sat upright in bed, staring at his own hand like it had betrayed him. "Please tell me this isn't real," Lucas said hoarsely. Ava swallowed. "We're married." Silence pressed down hard and unforgiving. Outside the window, Las Vegas glittered, indifferent to the chaos it had created. Reality didn't wait. By noon, The internet had turned their impulsive mistake into a spectacle. Headlines bloomed. Speculation spiraled. Videos of the chapel ceremony went viral. Some called it romantic. Others called it reckless. Most called Ava strategic. She married up. She planned it. She used him. That one hurt the most. Lucas watched her pace the suite, phone clenched like a weapon. "Don't answer," he said quietly. She stopped. "They're my brothers. They're my family too," he replied. "Which means whatever they say to you, they'll say worse to me." As if summoned, his phone buzzed. Lucas Carter feared very little. But the name on the screen tightened his jaw. He answered. "Talk," Ethan said coldly. "Yes," Lucas replied. "We're married." Pause. "Then, explain." "It wasn't planned," Lucas said carefully. "But it was legal. And mutual." Ava took the phone. "I wasn't drunk enough to be manipulated," she said firmly. "I made a choice." "That's not what scares me," Ethan snapped. "What scares me is the world assuming you needed permission." Silence. "We'll talk when you get back," Ethan said. The line went dead. Ava sank onto the couch, hands shaking. "Well," Lucas said dryly, "that went less disastrous than expected." She shot him a look. "You married me." He met her gaze. "And I don't regret disrespecting you." That startled them both. A knock interrupted the moment. Lucas's assistant stepped inside, tablet in hand, expression tight. "We have a situation," he said. "And an opportunity." Ava crossed her arms. "That's never good." "Your marriage has stabilized investor confidence," he explained. "If you annul now, it looks reckless. If you lean into it, temporarily, we control the narrative." Ava stared at Lucas. "Fake it," she said slowly. "4 months," the assistant added. Silence thickened. "No emotions," Ava said. Lucas nodded. "No pretending we don't feel pressure." And as they stood there, bound by law, perception, and consequences neither planned, neither of them noticed the most dangerous truth forming quietly between them. This marriage was never supposed to mean anything. And that was exactly why it was about to change everything. The marriage the world respected more than her. The fallout didn't explode all at once. It crept in quietly, wearing expensive smiles and polite concern. Ava learned quickly that the world didn't care whether her marriage was real. It only cared that it existed. Overnight, doors opened faster. Invitations arrived unprompted. Meetings she'd once been excluded from suddenly required her presence. Not because of her mind. Because of the ring. The first week living together felt like a ceasefire instead of a partnership. Lucas's penthouse was immaculate, cool marble floors, neutral tones, everything precisely where it belonged. Ava's suitcase looked like rebellion rolling across the floor. "You alphabetize your spices?" she asked, peering into the kitchen cabinets. "Efficiency," he replied. She moved the coffee machine 2 inches closer to the cups. He opened his mouth to argue, then stopped. Something about watching her exist in his space, unapologetic, self-possessed, felt grounding in a way he didn't understand. Publicly they were perfect. Hands at waists. Soft smiles. Easy laughter under flashing cameras. Privately, they were strangers learning the boundaries of a lie that felt dangerously close to the truth. The first gala came too soon. Cameras burst like fireworks as they stepped onto the red carpet. Lucas's hand settled at Ava's lower back, firm, protective. It wasn't for show. It was instinct. "You okay?" he murmured. "Don't let go," she said quietly. "I won't." They danced. And it wasn't fake. Their movements were effortless, bodies aligning like they'd rehearsed for years. The room watched. Whispers followed them like shadows. "She's lucky." "He could have done better." "She married power." A woman nearby laughed too loudly. "Guess marrying rich really works." Ava smiled sweetly. "Yes," she said. "So does working twice as hard to be taken half as seriously." Lucas squeezed her hand. Later, on the balcony overlooking the city, Ava exhaled. "You didn't have to defend me." "I wanted to," he said. The honesty startled them both. Days blurred into shared routines. Coffee made exactly how Ava liked it. Late-night work sessions. Quiet laughter over takeout containers balanced on marble counters. Until the call. Ava paused in the hallway, her hand hovering near the door, when she heard voices from Lucas's office. "Is she capable?" a man asked. "She's the CEO's daughter," another scoffed. "And now the billionaire's wife. That tells me everything." "This marriage confirms it," a third voice said. "Decoration. Stability symbol." Ava stepped back, heart pounding. Lucas ended the call abruptly. He found her standing rigid, face pale but eyes burning. "They think I'm furniture," she said flatly. "Something pretty that comes with the package." "They're wrong," Lucas said immediately. "Then prove it," she replied. "Let me lead the Madrid expansion." Silence stretched. Then Lucas smiled. Done. The board meeting was brutal. They questioned her experience, dismissed her strategies, spoke over her until she spoke with data, clean, relentless, undeniable. She dismantled objections calmly, replacing doubt with clarity. By the end, silence replaced skepticism. "Well," one board member muttered, "that was impressive." In the elevator afterward, Lucas exhaled. "I underestimated you once." She tilted her head. "Only once." He smiled. "Never again." That night, tension thick in the air. "This isn't fake anymore," Ava whispered. Lucas reached for her hand. "Then maybe it never was." They leaned closer. Too close. The elevator doors opened. Reality rushed back in. They stepped apart, but the truth stayed. Sleep didn't come easily. Pressure came from everywhere. The media wanted romance. The board wanted results. Her brothers wanted reassurance. And Ava felt herself disappearing behind expectations. Again. What terrified her wasn't the scrutiny. It was how real Lucas had become. Not the mogul. Not her brother's best friend. The man who remembered her coffee order. Who stayed quiet when she needed space. Who looked at her like she was rare instead of convenient. The breaking point came quietly. No cameras. No arguments. Just exhaustion. Ava came home late, heels in hand, shoulders slumped. Lucas was in the kitchen, glasses perched on his nose, reports spread across the counter. "You're still up?" she asked. He poured her a glass of water without a word. She stared at it, then at him. "Why are you kind to me when no one's watching?" she asked softly. "Because the truth was dangerous." "Because you deserve it," he said. That night, she cried in the shower so he wouldn't hear. He did anyway. The next week, Lucas invited her to a site visit. No press. No executives. "You don't have to come," she said. "I want you there." They walked the half-renovated hotel together. Workers greeted Lucas with respect, but they listened to Ava. When she suggested a change to the lobby flow, the architect paused, considered it, then nodded. "That's better." Lucas watched quietly. "You see what others miss," he said later. "I've had to," she replied. That night, they shared wine on the balcony. The city hummed below. "Can I say something without it changing things?" Lucas asked. "That depends." "I've never let myself want this." Her breath caught. "Want what?" "Someone who challenges me. Who doesn't need me, but chooses me." Silence stretched. Ava stood. "We should stop talking." "Yes," he agreed. Neither of them moved. And neither of them knew the world was already sharpening its knives. When the mask cracked in public, the first real betrayal didn't come from strangers. It came from a room full of people who smiled while sharpening knives. Ava sensed it the moment she stepped into the Madrid Strategy Summit. The energy was off, too polite, too controlled, like everyone had already decided how the story would end. Lucas stood beside her, composed as always, but even he felt it. This wasn't business. It was theater. The presentation began smoothly. Ava laid out projections, timelines, cost controls, each point precise, defensible, airtight. The numbers spoke louder than charm ever could. She watched skepticism soften into reluctant attention. Then the trap closed. A senior executive leaned back in his chair and smiled. "Before we proceed," he said, "we should address concerns about conflict of interest." Ava felt it before she heard it. "Given Mrs. Carter's personal relationship with our CEO," another voice chimed in, "is this really about strategy, or consolidation of influence?" The room hummed. Ava stayed still. "Come. Professional." "So this is about my marriage," she said evenly. "About perception," the man corrected. "Investors might question whether your recommendations are independent, or emotionally motivated." "Emotionally motivated." Lucas's jaw tightened. Ava smiled. "Then let's remove emotion," she said. "Judge the proposal on data alone." Silence. They did. And they hated that it held. So they pivoted. A whispered suggestion of impropriety. A comment about optics. A subtle implication that her competence was inseparable from the man she married. Lucas stood. "That's enough," he said sharply. Ava raised a hand. "No," she said. "Let them finish." They did. And when they were done, Ava stood, not defensive, not angry. Just finished pretending. You're right, she said calmly. Perception matters. She tapped the screen. These numbers, she continued, were developed before my marriage. Independently audited. Executed without my husband's involvement. She paused. And if you're still uncomfortable, she added, I'll step aside after launch. The room shifted. Lucas turned sharply. Ava? I will not be the reason mediocrity hides behind suspicion, she said firmly. The board voted. Unanimous approval. Afterward, the headlines twisted the story. Billionaire's wife almost steps aside amid nepotism concerns. Ava read it silently. Lucas watched her face harden, not with anger but resolve. They're trying to erase you, he said. They already decided who I am, she replied. I'm just late to the meeting. The next blow came faster. A leaked memo surfaced online. Anonymous, strategic, vicious. It questioned Ava's ethics, hinted at favoritism, and painted her success as proximity, not merit. The press devoured it. Her brothers called. Just lie low, one said. Let it pass. Lucas heard that, and snapped. No, he said coldly. This ends now. Ava turned. What are you doing? What I should have done years ago, he replied. The emergency board meeting was scheduled within hours. Executives expected damage control. What they got was exposure. Lucas stood at the head of the table, eyes sharp, voice calm. Someone in this room leaked confidential information, he said. And they did it to discredit my wife. Murmurs rippled. Here's what you didn't count on, he continued. Ava keeps records. He nodded to her. She connected her tablet. Emails appeared. Time-stamped. Authenticated. Tracing the leak back to one man, the same executive who'd questioned her independence. The room froze. That's impossible, the man stammered. No, Ava said quietly. It's documented. The vote was immediate. Termination. No severance. Karma didn't shout. It clicked shut. Outside the boardroom, silence stretched. You didn't have to step aside, Lucas said softly. I wasn't stepping away, Ava replied. I was stepping forward. He looked at her differently now. Not admiration. Respect. That night, the media shifted tone. CEO's wife exposes corporate sabotage. For the first time, her name stood alone. But victory didn't feel clean. Because something else broke with it. At home, the weight hit her. I don't know who I am without proving myself, Ava admitted quietly. Lucas watched her. You shouldn't have to. She looked at him. But I do. Because the world listens to you, and questions me. The words hung heavy. That night, they slept in separate rooms. Not out of anger. Out of fear. Because once power shifted, nothing could go back to pretending. When love became the last thing power could control, success didn't bring peace. It brought distance. After the boardroom exposure, Ava became untouchable in public and unreachable in private. Praise replaced suspicion. Invitations arrived with her name first. Executives asked her for opinions without glancing at Lucas for approval. The respect she had fought for finally came. And it terrified her. Because now there was nowhere left to hide. Lucas noticed the shift immediately. Ava stayed later at the office. Spoke less at home. Slept with a wall of silence between them thicker than marble. The apartment that once felt like neutral ground now echoed with things neither of them knew how to say. You don't need to prove anything anymore, Lucas said one night, breaking the quiet. Ava didn't look up from her laptop. I know. But you're still fighting, he pressed. She finally met his eyes. Because if I stop, I disappear again. That was the moment he realized the truth. He had power. She had survival. The media, sensing fracture, pounced. Speculation bloomed overnight. Trouble in paradise? Strategic marriage reaching its shelf life? Ava read the headlines without reacting. Lucas felt each one like a personal failure. The final straw came at the Global Leadership Forum. Ava was invited to keynote. Alone. Lucas sat in the audience, anonymous for the first time in years. She stood on stage, steady, composed, unapologetic. People often ask me how it feels to marry power, she said calmly. The truth is, power doesn't protect you from being underestimated. It just changes who's allowed to do it. The room stilled. I didn't earn my voice through marriage, she continued. I earned it by refusing to stay quiet when silence was more comfortable for everyone else. Applause erupted. Lucas didn't clap. He stood. And walked out. That night they finally fought. You don't need me anymore, he said flatly. That's not true, Ava shot back. Then why does it feel like I'm just another shadow you had to step out of? She hesitated. And that hesitation hurt more than any insult. I never wanted to be saved, she said. And I can't afford to be protected. Lucas nodded slowly. Then what am I to you? Silence. I don't know, she whispered. The next morning he left. Not dramatically. Not angrily. Just gone. The separation wasn't announced. It was felt. Investors panicked. Boards questioned stability. The same voices that once dismissed Ava now blamed her. She broke him. She pushed too far. She forgot her place. Ava stood alone in another boardroom facing the same men, only now Lucas wasn't beside her. They circled. This company needs unity, one executive said. Perhaps it's time to reconsider leadership roles. Ava breathed slowly. You're afraid, she said calmly. They bristled. Of what? Someone snapped. Of a woman who doesn't need permission anymore. She slid a folder across the table. Here's my resignation, she said. Gasps followed. And here, she added, placing another document down, is my acquisition offer. Silence slammed down. She had quietly secured backing. Quietly built leverage. Quietly learned the rules they thought she'd never understand. You're not stepping away, she finished. You're stepping aside. The vote was immediate. Ava didn't just survive. She won. Across the city, Lucas watched the announcement in stunned silence. He'd spent years controlling outcomes. He'd never seen power like this. That night he returned. Not as a rescuer. As a man finally ready to be equal. Ava stood by the window when he arrived. I'm not here to take anything from you, he said quietly. I'm here to ask if I can stand beside you, without being needed. She turned. Eyes steady. Heart bare. I never needed you, she said softly. He nodded. I know. She stepped closer. But I choose you. The world outside buzzed, unaware that the real victory had nothing to do with boardrooms. The respect she never asked for but always deserved. The world didn't apologize when it finally understood Ava Moreno. It simply changed its tone. Headlines softened. Commentary shifted. The same voices that once questioned her competence now praised her quiet brilliance and unexpected leadership. Ava watched it all with calm detachment. Validation she'd learned always arrived late, usually after the damage was done. But this time she wasn't waiting for it. The acquisition finalized within weeks. Ava became the youngest executive partner in the company's history, not through marriage, not through favoritism, but through leverage she'd built patiently while everyone else underestimated her. Boardrooms that once spoke over her now waited for her to finish before responding. Respect had arrived. Not as a gift, as a debt. Lucas stood beside her, not in front, not behind. For the first time in his life he wasn't the most powerful person in the room. And for the first time he didn't want to be. The press tried one last time to frame the narrative. Is this still a love story? A reporter asked during a joint appearance. Ava smiled calmly. It's a partnership. Lucas nodded. And not the kind that needs explaining. The comment went viral. So did the backlash, from the same corners that always resisted change. She forgot who helped her. She thinks she's above everyone now. She should be grateful. Ava addressed it once. Only once. At a leadership conference packed with executives, founders, and young professionals watching online, she stood at the podium and spoke without notes. I've been told my entire life to be grateful, she said. Grateful for opportunities one earned. Grateful for respect I had to fight for. Grateful for not being excluded. The room stilled. I don't want gratitude, she continued. I want fairness. And I want a world where women don't have to be exceptional just to be treated as equal. The applause was thunderous. But the most important moment came quietly. Later that evening, Ava and Lucas stood on the balcony of their apartment, the same place where everything had once been pretend. You never needed me, Lucas said softly. No, Ava agreed. But you learned how to stand with me. He smiled. That took longer. She reached for his hand. Growth usually does. Their marriage wasn't rewritten as a fairy tale. It was rewritten as a choice. Not built on dependency. Built on mutual respect. And when people asked how Vegas had changed her life, Ava always answered the same way. It didn't, she said. It just revealed what was already there. She stopped being underestimated the moment she stopped explaining herself. And the world had no choice but to follow.